If you love Jesus,
Apostolic Sunday School.com.
So I'm in the process of making a jumbo Connect 4. Basically, I took an 8x4 sheet of OSB, which is about right at 1/2 inch thick, and I cut it into 7 3/4 inch squares. So I ended up with these squares. Then I made this jig on the drill press so I could get it in the dead center every time. Then I take the board over and put it in my bandsaw. I have a circle jig set up. Basically, there's a needle there. I have this board clamped to the back, and this slips on the nail through the hole that I drilled in the drill press, and it cuts a circle. I'm going to go ahead and do that now. All right, so there I am left with a 7-inch circle in diameter. So that's what I'm in the process of right now. I got all of these cut. I'm gonna be cutting a whole lot more. Once I get them all cut, then I'll lay them out and start on the board itself. Alright, I have all of my checkers cut out from a Connect 4. So now I'm going to start laying it out on the board. I'm going to attach one side piece, which is just a 1x5x8 that I cut down into 1.5 inch strips, so they're 1.5 inch wide. And I'm just going to attach one side using a brad nailer, staples, and some glue. Okay, so I got one rail on, and now I'm going to use the actual checkers themselves to line up my next row. Cut this big one down as well. Now I am pushing these all the way to the bottom, and that's because I'm going to be putting a piece of wood that folds open that allows all of the checkers to fall out. I tried using a rotating one last time and it was a disaster, so this time that's what I'm using. So these are 6 checkers high, 7 checkers wide. I'm going to bring it a little closer. So you can see what we have here. We have the checkers laid out against the fixed. This panel here is fixed. Checkers themselves laying in there, and then I'm going to separate the checkers from the next one by probably maybe a 1/2 inch or so. Give it room where it's not going to get jammed, but not any more than that. So I'm going to go 7.5 inches to the next one, mount that, and keep doing this all the way down, making sure these are square. Okay, so here is the laid out grid. We have the board with the 7 rows, or 7 columns rather, of checkers. And I have all this extra board that I'm going to have to cut off in a bit. And then I got all my checkers here. And got them all laid out. So I have exactly 7.5 inches between. I have a 7-inch disc with a 1/2 inch gap between them. So we should be pretty much set. So now I just have to cut this part off, lay the other board on top, and mark off the positions for the holes I have to cut in it. So we're making progress. Yay. I have all the lines laid out. I did make this jig, which is exactly the same size as one of the checkers. And I have a hole drilled in it. And the point of this is so I can lay it on here. And as you can see, I laid out all my lines all the way across. And this will just help me center the hole. So I'm going to punch a small hole, like you can see in this row. And I'm going to use that for my hole saw and cut out a 6-inch hole that'll leave a 1/2 inch overlap between the hole and the checker. The checker's 7 inches. I've already laid all these out, and I just got to drill all the rest of the holes. Right, here is the other side. I just flipped this over, and here are all of the holes I've drilled. Alright, so here's my hole saw all set up. I've already cut a couple, so go ahead and do a couple here. Again, this is 6-inch hole saw. It's a Milwaukee. I got it at Home Depot. Not cheap. It's about 40 bucks just for this piece, and then the chuck itself is probably another 16. But I should be able to blow these holes out in about 5, maybe 10 minutes, as opposed to maybe an hour or two with the jigsaw. So in that sense, it's worth it. I'm gonna go ahead and do a couple of these. You got to get the plug out, which is annoying. Okay, there's a guy mowing a lawn across the neighborhood, but I have the holes cut out, and I just laid another piece of plywood on top of here. This is going to be sandwiched together pretty soon. I'm going to put wood glue in there, and then staple and glue it, and screw it together, and this will all be one piece. So we're getting there. So we have the back piece now mounted to it. Ignore the scribbles, that's from a previous project that I did not use this for. But I have all my slats. These are all stapled and glued together, so it's actually surprisingly solid, even though this wood is only, less than about 1/4 inch. It's not very thick at all. So this thing should be relatively light. So this is going to be my bottom, so I have everything nice and flush here. On this side, though, I have some things that stick out, so I'm just going to trim that off when I'm done. So I'm getting awfully close, so I'm going to go ahead and put the bottom on, which is going to be a flap on a hinge, and it'll allow the checkers to fall out. And then, man, I'm ready to test this thing. The next step has been completed, and that is the putting on of the bottom rail. This flips up and allows the checkers to fall out. So of course this is the bottom. This flips down. There's going to be a latch on the back. So there is the front. The bottom held on by hinges. I was going to put the hinges inside in between these two, so you can't actually see them. But it made a gap with these particular hinges that I didn't want to mess with, it would shift the checkers down too far, so I just left them like this, although I could have tried to chisel it out or whatever. But anyway, I'm okay with the way it is. But I'm going to put a clasp on the back, and we're ready to go. All right, well, here is the final Connect 4. It is not painted, but it is pretty stinking close to being done. So this is pretty much what we have videoed so far. This side here is 2x4 that has been screwed on. The height really isn't that important as long as it gives stability all the way down. I do have it glued and screwed. The coolest thing is these bases, because the one we built before would not fold flat against the wall, but this one will lift out completely, and so those are separate, so you can store it very flat against the wall, take it out of the feet. And in addition, last time I did it rotating, so the whole thing spun to dump out the tokens, but now there is a latch right here, and that makes that open, and all the checkers fall out. So this will all be painted. We're going to do a bright yellow on the front, blue on the sides and feet, black on the back, and man, we'll be ready to go. Here is the finished Connect 4. It's all painted and ready to go. The front's yellow, sides are blue, back is black. There's the black checkers and the red checkers. Yay! All right, Riley here is going to show us how it works. Riley, you want to go ahead and do the honors? Okay, can you put me a black one in number 6, please? Sure.